Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, Go to Marketplace, How to Craft 5 Effective and Automated Sales Workflows. We're going to go ahead and kick things off shortly here with our presenters, but first I wanted to cover off on a little bit of housekeeping. If you are experiencing any issues viewing or hearing today's session, please let us know by using that Q&A chat on your screen. We'll do our best to go ahead and address those, but a quick tip is just hitting that handy dandy refresh button in your browser, and that typically fixes most of the problems. Also, please feel free to use that Q&A box to ask Millie or Ben any of those questions that might pop up along today's presentation. We do have time allotted at the end for those, and we will get through as many as we possibly can in the time today. This is being recorded live as we speak. So yes, you will receive that on-demand recording within 1 business day of today's event. Feel free to share that out with your teams. Today's session is really centered around how your team can use these. So we definitely encourage you to go ahead and do that. Next, we do have some related content. We've linked to our handful of ZoomInfo plays. Go ahead and check those out throughout today's session. Bookmark them, share them out. Get inspired. We link those for you in the related content. Next, we do have some poll questions that'll pop up. So please do respond to those. It'll help Ben and Millie sort of guide today's presentation. We also have a survey that will pop up at the end of this webinar. We would love your feedback on how to improve this moving forward, and also hear about what you thought of today's session. Lastly, ZoomInfo's safe harbor statement. ZoomInfo is a publicly traded company. This presentation may contain forward-looking statements. Any buying decision you make should be based only upon currently available products and offerings. Our complete safe harbor statement was read for your review. All right, with that, Ben, Millie, I'd like to welcome you guys in. Ben, would you like to kick things off? Fun fact, where you're at in your career, all that good stuff?
Sure, I'm happy to. I'm Ben, super excited to be here, and I help run special projects at ZoomInfo, and that came about after my company was acquired by ZoomInfo in April, and really all my company did for about 6 years was try to help companies in SaaS and B2B to think about go-to-market playbooks. So sort of a long time coming, but very excited to share learnings along the way and some of the way that we think about that here at ZoomInfo.
Yeah. I'm Millie Beetham. I am our Director of Go-to-Market Playbooks and Strategy here at ZoomInfo. I run a lot of the go-to-market plays, all of the go-to-market plays that we're going to talk about today internally. So I'm really your resident go-to-market playbooks expert here and in the market, and I'm excited to go through a ton of this with everyone today. I've been doing this most of my career and just happened to land in the land of the plays here alongside Ben, and I'm really excited about where we're at in terms of open sourcing these and sharing these out to the market.
Great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you guys. Kick things off the agenda.
Sounds great, Millie. I'll go over what we're going to discuss today, and then I think all the attendees would love to hear about why this is so important, so we'll start with that. And then we'll go through a little bit of a background on how this effort came about. There was a ton of people involved internally and externally, and we'll sort of show you how the Plays site works and some of the things that you can do with it. And then Millie's going to spend some time actually walking through how our go-to-market Plays collection sort of connects to our Workflows product and how to think about, standing these up at your company. And then there's a few surprises at the end, or at least a few fun things that we've built in that should make this easier for everyone. But Millie, would love it if you could start and just kind of explain why this is so important for the broader market.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think ultimately, and I'll keep this pretty short and simple because I think the proof is in the pudding, you can have as much data at your fingertips as possible. But if you don't have a way to or understand how to put that data to work, to action it, and have a lot of those actions or those workflows, as we'll talk through later, running in the background to do a lot of the work and automate a lot of that outbound work for you, the data really falls flat. It's just there and it becomes a system of record, right? So we're going to talk a ton today about how really what makes go-to-market plays so important for organizations to have running, for individual reps, for sales leaders, for marketing leaders to all understand how they run. We're going to highlight, right, exactly how to do that. And through seeing how to do that, you'll see how important, how impactful these plays can be on the other side to your bottom line.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think, we'll even give some tips on where to start, right? Like, here are the top 5 you should think about standing up at your org if you're just getting started. So super excited to have this be interactive and to see questions coming in the QA. And of course, we'll have some poll questions to get some feedback from the audience as we go as well. Let's start by just talking through how we would think about this construct and define some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So a lot of companies have different terms that they use for how they would describe the different concepts or ideas that they have. I think what the industry seems to have settled on is thinking about sort of like go-to-market plays, or, in some cases people call them sales plays. But a play is really an end-to-end concept that helps to allow you to engage with your customers. And generally it starts with some sort of input, like a specific thing changes or happens in the world that kicks off the play, what we would call like a trigger. There is a unique set of steps that create a recipe for the play. So what are all the things that need to happen along the way to make the play actually go? And then a play has to land with at least some engagement on a channel with a customer. And so, there are a lot of sort of infrastructure related things like lead routing or discovery playbooks. There's playbooks of different types. I'd sort of think of that as a little bit different. What we're going to talk today are sort of like end-to-end go-to-market plays that work horizontally across companies, and any company can take off the shelf and use. And so as we think about, sort of building on that concept, and we'll use Workday as an example in a few different areas here, just to pick a company that everybody's familiar with, you can see there's all of this interesting data on the left that powers these plays. So foundational data, like what companies are we talking about? What people at those companies? What are the technographics of the tech stack that company is using? And there's also a bunch of dynamic signals, like things that change, like someone being on your website or raising money or having a specific piece of news that's come out about them. So there's all these data inputs that help you sort of think about audience building and what is the actual starting point for the play. And then the workflow is all around sort of stringing together all the things that actually need to happen along the way, like routing, assignment, mapping it back to Salesforce, sending off, limitations on how many people you're going to send off a message to. And then lastly is really thinking about the play itself is, landing with engaging with a customer on one or more channels. And most of the people on this call are probably very familiar with, advertising world, the email world. There's also all of these other outputs for plays, like having real-time alerts, having it, the ability to inform workflows from conversations that you're having, on Chorus or on your conversation intelligence tool. So there's really sort of a never-ending set of things where this could be the output for, but this go-to-market play definition is really around a unique set of steps that lead to engaging with the customer in a programmatic way. And what Millie's going to show during the demo is how to architect these so that it just happens and you wake up every day with more meetings. So really quickly, we'll start by asking a question of the audience just to get a sense for how you would describe your current strategy. And the way we'll define this is, are you asking your reps to go out and define who they're going after, what they know about them? Is there a centralized function that does that? Or have you gone all the way down the line to actually automating the process of moving data from place to place and, sort of industrialize this motion? So we'll give people a few seconds to answer this, but we're really curious to see sort of where people are at. Millie, what's your sense for how you think that these answers will come back or how we'll break down?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I'll be surprised, I think, if we have a majority in the audience that are fully automated, because hopefully what we're going to show you today is how to actually get there. But yeah, really intrigued to see who's going to be kind of mostly rep driven versus centralized and where we break out there.
And as the answers are coming in, I think, one thing to note is that there's not one right answer here. In a really sophisticated company who's got this right, there are flavors of all three that should happen, right? Reps should have autonomy to go and find contacts and to drive motions on their own. There should be a centralized lane that handles things like targeting and personas and competitive tech and all the things that are sort of done at scale and aggregated. And then as much of those things that can be automated, companies want to do, but there's probably a place for all three. So yeah, Becca, what are we seeing coming in on the responses so far?
Let me check. I'm going to make sure it's working. All right. So far, about 66% said it's mostly rep driven. The next highest response was centralized, so about 28%, and then automated 4.1%. So what are your thoughts on that, Ben and Millie?
Yeah, I think that seems about right. That's probably the normal distribution that we would see at any given company. Millie and I have the luxury of talking to many dozens and dozens of customers every month. And this is about where the market is at. I'm really excited to talk to the 4% of people who have this automated. I want to see what that looks like, because it's actually a pretty high bar to get over before a lot of these tools have become much easier. So, this distribution seems realistic to me. Millie, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to showing how we can get that one step closer to centralized, or that one step closer to automated for you all as we go through some of the examples and demos.
Awesome. So really quick, I think for those of you who have seen our content over the last few weeks, there's a lot of updates that we've made to sort of the publicly facing go-to-market play site to help inspire the community around a set of ideas. And a lot of this started, like any good project, with a basic version that we didn't really have ready for prime time. So we actually had spent a huge amount of time just organizing all the metadata around these plays internally into this Airtable. And we actually published the Airtable online, in November, and it was amazing to see the response. So Henry's post got something like 350,000 impressions. My post got something like 150,000, and then other colleagues who posted it got us to over 500,000 people actually saw this. And what we found was that people were like, "You're just giving it away. Like, we love that we can just take this off the shelf and use it right away." So we were really inspired by that. Like, wow, if people are excited about this Airtable, they're going to be really excited about us building a higher fidelity version. So we sort of put this out into the world in November, and we've done a bunch of work in the last few weeks to get this ready. And we'll talk more about how this ties to our product, but we've sort of gone down and released this to the public in a new version, which we'll talk about. So if you haven't done it already, feel free to go after this webinar, not while we're going probably, but go to zoominfo.com/plays, and you can browse this experience for yourself. And so what this is we believe the most exhaustive and complete collection of ideas for how to go to market that exists, right? So most companies sort of reach a local maximum of like 5 to 7 go-to-market plays before they're like, I'm like too busy kind of doing the plays. I don't have really more capacity to add on to that. And we think that that's broken. So it's often a failure of imagination of why companies can't expand their playbook and create better experiences for their customers. So what we've tried to do is create a playbook that is horizontally applicable. Every single one of these plays, any B2B company could run and should run. And so as you see, this person on the right who looks very knowledgeable, is that you, Millie, explains the play to us on the play site. There's a video for each. We talk about which channels these plays can be run on. And then we've added a whole bunch of new features, including GPT templates, a workflow preview, an ad template, a messaging template, to really help companies to be inspired by these ideas, be able to take them off the shelf and to run them. And so an important unlock that we got to over the last couple of weeks was to tie the go-to-market plays site that hopefully you all will check out to our product. So for a subset of these plays, you can actually just click the try it button if you have ZoomInfo and you have the workflows product to actually kick off the workflow live and to stand it up with this sort of pre-built off-the-shelf play. And so there's a whole bunch of considerations that you can customize around things like who you're going to contact and who you're not, what system you're going to send it to, et cetera. And Millie's going to actually walk through a live demo of this later in the webinar. So it's really exciting to see this content effort be fully aligned with the product effort. And so people can sort of be inspired by these ideas on the web and then go and launch them right away.
Yeah.
And so
Ben, I was just gonna like double back on the fact that you said that it's all templated, right? Like I think the number one thing that the plays site out of the box does, you can go to the site and there's a template, there's something to start from, there's something to work from. It's so difficult, and I've understood this as I've like developed and had to continuously be creative and put my creativity hat on to like develop these plays. It's really hard to stare at a blank screen and go, well, what should I do, and what data do I need, and what inputs do I need, and what is my output, and which systems do I need to connect. We've really templatized that, so it's much easier to sort of start from that foundation and then let your creativity go from there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And really, there's no limit to the number of variations of these plays, as Millie is alluding to. Some people will have dozens or maybe even hundreds of versions of the play of just someone visits your site. What do you do with that information? For a big company, they might have hundreds of different pages with different audiences for each page, and they want to do something different with that audience. Some people should get ads, some people just email, some people both. And so having that flexibility is really, really powerful. There's also a few things that we've updated around the play site that we're really proud of. So one is adding in partner plays. So from our friends at G2 and Trust Radius, or at DocuSign and Adobe, a lot of these plays are inspired or informed by public data sets or data sets from other companies that would help us get to something really specific in each play. Like, what is the product usage that this company is showing that kicks off a play? Like, they've used X feature and Y feature, but not Z. What do we do with that information? Or if you wanted to integrate a sender like Postal.io, Sendoso, or ReachDesk to actually send physical mail as part of a play, there's a lot of providers that we partner with that can help together with ZoomInfo power these plays. And so it's really exciting, as you'll see, some of these will have actually the partners listed on there. And we would love suggestions from the community about what other partner plays to add. We think there's so much upside on being able to share this with the entire community and be inspired by things that people are already doing with other data partners. And so, as we sort of summarize it here, what we're trying to do is help companies to get a tighter feedback loop from discovering a concept that they want to run, learning about it, and having a deep understanding of how that concept would work, and then implementing it out of the box. So there's been lots of versions of this in the past, and other companies have, versions of collections of plays. But we think this is the first time that a company has made it this easy to have the underlying data foundation, the orchestration layer, and the channels all in one, and sort of have this full stack go-to-market approach. We also think our play site, with how comprehensive it is and how much work we put into it, is the best version of this. So open to feedback on that. If you have a better version that we should be inspired by, please send it over. But we're really proud of what we've put together on this front. So Becca, I'll let you go through the next poll question for the audience.
Yeah, so we're just curious, what channels sort of are you using a part of your go-to-market strategy right now? Is it email only, email and phone, email phone ads, or sort of this more omni-channel approach? Because a lot of these channels sort of impact the robustness of, your go-to-market strategy, as well as all of the plays that you can do. So yeah, we're just curious on that. Ben, Millie, any thoughts on what this might end up being?
Millie, what's been the journey for you around thinking about going from one channel to many channels?
Yeah, I think sometimes, or at least in my experience, what I've seen sometimes can happen is at smaller companies, it's actually easier to do omni-channel. You have like maybe less people with sort of decision making. And so you can really orchestrate maybe a few plays really well. And then what you realize is as you scale, there's a lot more scale, and it's a little bit harder to maybe orchestrate the ads and all the other channels all at the same time. And so you might actually reduce the number of channels. And then sort of when you really mature is when you go back out into that omni-channel strategy. So it almost becomes sort of like I was going to say the funnel kind of comes in and then it goes out again in terms of like the number of channels that you're using over time. And I would say that that's pretty normal. Like that's what we see in a lot of businesses. So if that's happening to you or that's where you're at, like not to be frustrated or to lean into the fact that maybe less channels make sense for you right now.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And I think one thing that our CMO, Brian Law, who's really brilliant around thinking about all the science behind marketing, has drove home for us is that, having a consistent drumbeat across channels where the messaging and the, sort of targeting segmentation are consistent is really helpful for brand building and for awareness. because what you don't want is these inconsistent messages. So the more that you can orchestrate across these channels, the more impact your sales and marketing efforts will have.
Great. All right. I'm going to go ahead and post the results. Looks like about 6% say email only, about 27% email and phone. Email phone ads is a little less at 20%, and an omni-channel is sitting at about 45%. Which I find interesting.
I will make sure to highlight some of our ad templates that are out of the box on the Plays site for everyone as we go through and do the demo.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think this distribution makes sense, and I think as we'll talk about, hopefully some of these ideas, and you'll see this on the Plays site, are really broken out by channels. So there are, if you're not running ads today or you're not doing things with email today, some of them are just specific to that channel. And so if you're looking for plays of as an example, we have a play around ads air cover that's basically suggests that when you have an upcoming meeting with your sales team, a company seeing ads ahead of that meeting can be a powerful way to make sure that they have more awareness, more understanding of what the brand is ahead of it. So that's a great example of if you're not doing ads today, an awesome place to start where you've already sort of gotten attention from the company. So, making sure that you're doing everything that they come into the right brain space for the meeting can be very powerful. So I guess, Millie, with that, I would love it if you could take over and just give people a really quick walkthrough of the Plays site as it exists today. And actually, sorry, I jumped ahead. I'm going to do a quick section on our own go-to-market plays before we talk about the go-to-market Plays site and workflows. So just really quickly, Millie and I have the tremendous luxury of working with the entire ZoomInfo team to stand up and industrialize these plays for our entire sales team. So for many, many hundreds of sellers, they get out of bed every morning knowing that a lot of the core plays and the evergreen plays that we should be running every month and every quarter at ZoomInfo are going to be designed, staged, and sent on their behalf. And they just wake up to more replies and first meetings. And so the way that we think about that is in a few different areas. One is, how do we think about acquiring customers in a programmatic way? What are the ways that we take existing customers and upsell and cross-sell? How do we ensure that we're retaining those customers? And if we happen to have a customer churn, what's our plan for getting back in front of that customer and for winning their business back? So our plays really apply across the entire life cycle for a customer. And we're just going to talk a little bit about how we've done this internally, because a lot of this effort has been around just open sourcing what's already working for us. So a lot of this is sort of things that we've been doing for many years, and we're finally ready to sort of pull back the curtain and say, hey, everyone should be doing this, and we want to really bring the community along with us. So one thing to think about, as we'll talk about in a few different areas here, is there's the data foundation underneath is really what makes these plays effective. Anyone can go out and stand up a bunch of automated flows to start putting things in market, but unless it's tied to an underlying data foundation that really helps you figure out who are we going after, what do we know about them, how can we say something super relevant to this company, the plays are likely to fall flat. So one of the things to sort of think about is, like, for each one of these plays, there's a data foundation, a lot of work that goes into targeting, personas, technographic signals, of actually weaving that data into targeting, content pivots, et cetera, to make each one of these plays more effective. So what you see here is all of the plays that Millie and a lot of the awesome people that we work with at ZoomInfo are executing on every day. And so again, some of them have maybe slightly different names than we've packaged up for the public version, but just know that we're sort of living this every day of running all of these plays in an automated way. And so I wanted to just pick a company out of the ether to show as an example so people can sort of ground it in a company that you've heard of. And so we're going to use Workday as the example today. And so the first thing that we recommend to companies that are out there is really think about an audit of the plays that you're running that's specific to your company. Like, what plays exist today, whether they're rep driven or they're run centrally, and which of those plays actually matter for your company. So one thing you can do is take our open source playbook, take it down and put it into a spreadsheet and say, okay, like, we're doing this, we're not doing this, it's automated, it's not automated, like really have a sense for like what you're actually doing today. And then the other thing is really think about the data universe. So for Workday, as an example, they might want to think about, who are they competing with for their financial and accounting products? Who are they competing with for their core HR products? What are the different scoops or signals, news signals that they're looking for that would tell you, hey, this is the right time to reach out to that company? So a lot of the underlying work of like, what are we already doing and how will the data power it? It really ladders up to each play. So think of this data foundation underneath, the orchestration layer in the middle, and then landing with specific plays for each company. And so, the things to think about here are, after you've done all that work, there's a lot of customization that can happen on the content side to say, hey, here's the underlying data foundation powering what we actually say, as an example, customizing the chatbot or informing a specific ad. And so we just want to point out that, if you haven't done the foundational work of figuring out who you're going after, what do you know about them, and looking at all that data in an aggregated way, it's unlikely that your plays will be as effective as they will once you've done that work. So that's one thing we hold dear here at ZoomInfo, is that you've got to get the data side right to make sure that plays really land for your customers. So I was getting excited, Millie, earlier about your demo, which I think is what everyone's here to see. So if you could just describe a little bit more about the play site and how that ties directly into our product.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm just going to go ahead actually, and I'll share my screen as I talk through this, and I'll start on our play site. So just give me a second as I go through and get this set up. All right. Ben, I'll have you hold me to this. You can see this, yeah?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. This is our go-to-market play site. I'm going to go through the play site, and I'm going to demo. I have 5, like we talked about, and is the name of this webinar. I have 5 sales workflows that I'll walk through for some of these specific plays. But I did want to call out a couple of the things based on our discussion so far. So if you go to the go-to-market play site, one, this is available to everyone, ZoomInfo customer or not, across anybody who can go to zoominfo.com/plays and take a look at these plays here. But you can filter by channel. So for those of you running, most of your plays with ads, or those who are just really focused on phone and email, you can actually go ahead and filter these down to take a look at the ones that are really catering to those different channels. The other thing that I really love about this play site is you can go ahead and you can hit this and favorite. It'll cookie, and then if you hit my play, view my plays, all the ones that you have sort of favorited are going to show up on this my plays saved URL. And so these are the ones we're actually going to go through today. So at first, I'm going to just click into the actual intent signal targeting play. I'm going to do my best to give as much detail as I can on this, but I also want to run this from sort of a scenario perspective. So I'm going to talk through the play a little bit, and then I'll give a little bit of a scenario, and we'll go through and we'll actually try the workflow out, and you'll see how this kind of all comes together through to the actual, turning the workflow on and actually actioning this data. So let's start. Our intent signal targeting play is leveraging intent data. So we're going to try to identify companies that are within our ICP. I'm going to outline what our ICP is for the purposes of this demo. And then those that are spiking on a specific intent topic, we want to go ahead and action against those, right? We might want to send out a message or a sales flow that has maybe phone and email steps in it. So I'll walk through that exact scenario as part of our intent signal targeting play. One of the things I did want to just call out is Ben just talked about having, that data foundation built out. To run this play, you as a business, you need to understand what your intent signals are that you care about, right? What are those intent topics that you really care about? And so you need to have identified those and have those on hand to be able to then craft messaging and create this play. I want to scroll all the way down really quickly before I jump into try it. One of the most powerful and useful pieces of this play site to me is the messaging templates we've provided, the ads templates we've provided, this example of an AI-driven email template, putting all the details around this play into OpenAI and actually delivering out what an example email might look like using this play. And then it actually showcases what that workflow template that we're going to preview in the ZoomInfo platform looks like out of the box. So super useful here. Again, like I said, hopefully it sparks that creativity when you have something to work from. So I'm going to go ahead and hit try it. And we're going to jump over to this new tab. Hopefully everybody can see my SalesOS intent signal targeting workflow loading here. And the first thing is this is loading out. I'm just going to go ahead and rename this so that I can find this later. And let's talk through the scenario, right? So I need to define my trigger and I need to define my actions.
And Millie, as you're going through, if you want to just do like a Command plus, make it just a little bigger.
Sure thing. Thank you, Ben. All right. I'm pretty, my eyesight's pretty bad, so I'd definitely be the person in the audience right now struggling to see. Okay. So let's talk about the scenario, right? So say I'm an account executive and I've been working with my SDR and I'm really hearing, every meeting that we're having, it seems like they're talking about data enrichment. And so I've gone ahead and thought about like how my solution, right, solves certain problems around data enrichment. And I'm going to actually set up my intent signal targeting play to find that intent topic and find the companies in my ICP that are spiking on that intent topic, and then go ahead and action contacts, the target personas that I want to reach out to about data enrichment and our solutions related to data enrichment. And I'm going to go ahead and put them in a sales flow. I've already developed some messaging that's built in here. I'll pull that up in a second, and I'll actually be able to just turn this workflow on, and it's going to identify those people that are spiking on that intent topic at those companies as I've defined them, and it's going to send out this email automatically. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to schedule this weekly, and I'm going to go through all of the details on this first one, and then we can kind of talk through at a more high level as I go into the next few. I think you'll start to understand. So I've got scheduled weekly. I'm going to limit this to weekly. I want to enroll up to 100 companies. I'm going to look for my data enrichment intent topic. All right, give it a second. My computer's on its last legs here, as you can see up here. I need some more juice, so it might just take a second to load. All right. Exactly what I thought. Come on, computer, you can do it. Great.
Too many tabs. Probably too many tabs.
Way too many tabs in Chrome. I am the worst offender of that. If y'all could see my other screens. Give me just a second. It's going to load out. There it is. Beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and select that data enrichment intent topic. Okay. Once I hit apply here, that's gonna go into my workflow trigger over here. It's filling in. I'm gonna up my signal score. I'm gonna up my audience strength, and now I'm gonna go into filtering my companies, and I'm gonna define my ICP. For the purposes of today's demo, my ICP is gonna be software companies that are B2B, and they're gonna be located in the US. I'm gonna hit apply. All right, now I've got my action set up. I need to action, right? I've got my trigger set up. I need to set up my actions. I want to discover 5 contacts per company. And I want to go in here, and because I'm looking for spikes on data enrichment, right? The person that I'm looking for, that buyer persona that I'm looking to target, is probably a marketing ops VP. I'm going to hit OK and apply. And now this is where this gets really powerful, right? I get to now go in here, right? And I can select for my different engagement platforms, right? I can export to CRM. I can export to some data management. I have marketing automation technology. So depending on your stack, and of course, sales engagement platforms. So depending on your stack, right, you can go ahead and export directly to Engage or to Outreach. You can export these directly into your CRM, whether that's Salesforce, Dynamics, etc. So that is the entire workflow, and then you just turn it on. We're going to go through our next one. If there are any questions to Becca, Ben, feel free to stop me in between as I go to the next.
Really, as you're going through, someone just asked, what does ICP stand for? So that's ideal customer profile. So really it's about thinking which companies are the right fit for your solution?
Great question. Any others?
No, keep going, but please continue to pepper us with questions in the QA, please.
Yeah, please do. I'm happy to like have this be, a back and forth here. I'm on our site visit targeting now. So let's go through our site visit targeting play. So this play identifies companies within your ideal client profile that are visiting specific pages on your website. So if you know that certain domains, right, from certain companies, you can see them on your different website pages. This play helps you understand, identify who those are, who those companies are, and then action a play against them, right? Targeting your right buyer personas. So I've actually got this set up out of the box, and we'll go through it. But again, messaging template is here, your ads template is here, all of the out of the box resources to help make this play really actionable for you. Out of the box open source is here. So in ZoomInfo, one of the things that we've done additionally is you can either start from the play site and hit try it, or in our new workflows experience, in our playbook, you can actually hit try it. This playbook looks almost exactly the same as the external version. And then obviously when you click through this try it button on the other end, this is the templated site visit targeting workflow. I've already filled in a bunch of the scenario here, but let me talk you through the scenario for something like this. So we were just on our ZoomInfo Plays site. I want to make sure that when any company is visiting that ZoomInfo Plays site, then I'm identifying that company. If that company is within our ICP, I want to target specific contacts at that company, and then I want to go ahead and message those people at that company about our plays and about the value of running some of these plays and the power of this automation. So this is exactly that workflow or that play in a workflow. So again, you have all of your frequency conditions here. You can set up your criteria around the actual URL that you want to target. So again, I have zoominfo.com. I've got the URL visited. I can go as specific as plays/site visit-targeting, which was the actual URL we were looking at before. You can look through your number of visits. Again, you're going to want to dictate your ideal client profile, which is identifying which companies based on different firmographics we have here. And then your actions. Again, number of companies you want to, or number of contacts you want to discover. And what are those buyer personas? Who are those contacts? In this scenario, a lot of these plays, right? We're probably talking, a lot of you in the audience potentially are either sales leaders or account executives or just sellers generally. I really want to talk to our VPs of business development at these companies within our ICP. So I'm going to go ahead and target them with the messaging that I've created for this play. And then again, you can export to your system. I can actually show you the login here around export to engage. So when you export to engage, you just select which sales flow that you actually want to send, what message you want to send, the sales flow with the messaging that you've set up. You'd select and assign a user for each of these contacts, and then you go ahead, turn the workflow on. All right. What's next? Any other questions at this point?
Yeah, Millie, there was one that came in. You want to just describe a little bit about audience strength and what that means to us from ZoomInfo intent perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go back here. So audience strength, hold on. I am resharing this tab. Can everybody see my intent signal targeting play?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. So the audience strength is we're trying to understand essentially through how our intent data works is that we are essentially bucketing how much of the company relative to the size of the company have we picked up on signals of them researching that topic. So for example, if we're seeing that domain register for those intent topics in a much larger versus smaller way, we're seeing that audience strength be bigger at that company.
Perfect. Yep. And then there's another question around on going back to the site visit play. If you could switch tabs and show that one. Yes, you are able to customize the URL for the person who visited, or for companies who visited a particular page on your site. And so what we'll see companies do often is really map out, like, here are all the places on the website where we're getting a lot of traffic, and then using the content on the site to say, okay, if they're on this page, they're likely to be in this persona or people of this title, and then mapping the content that they're showing in ads or in outbound email, et cetera, to maybe what they've already seen on the site. So yes, you can pick any URL that's on your website to target your website visits on.
For example, if you wanted to target potentially, or you wanted to message about maybe your marketing solutions, or if I was setting this up for ZoomInfo, our solutions marketing page, if we see companies visiting that solutions marketing page, I probably want to talk to them about our marketing solutions. I can set up that play specifically. All right, shall we do the next one? How am I doing on time?
Doing great.
Yeah, 20 minutes left. So
I know we promised everyone 5, so let's get through 5. The next one I'm going to go through is contact external move. So I think this is generally a fan favorite. Everyone I talk to who is a seller is running some sort of version of this, maybe ad hoc or at least on their own, maybe using LinkedIn, etc. But if a contact goes to a different company, right, and they get a new job, but you've maybe worked with them before, you want to say hello. You want to reach out and potentially use that opportunity of a previous relationship to maybe drive a new one. It's also just a great opportunity when we maybe don't know that person to say congratulations and reach out. I'm going to go ahead and try this out. And I can talk you through specifically a scenario, that I've been thinking about whenever, I have this running today for ZoomInfo. And one of the things that was asked of me was, well, every single time that we're seeing a new CMO take a role, we should be reaching out from our executives to say hello and congratulations. And, we look forward to developing a relationship there. And so that's what this workflow is doing. It's allowing that play to happen and run in the background. So what I'm doing here is I'm using Scoops data, which is super powerful. It's one of my favorite ZoomInfo signals data that I get to leverage. So I can go in and I can define my scoop type as a personnel scoop that's a new hire. And I want to look for those new hires within the C-suite. Again, this is where we define our ICP. I've actually added an employees filter here. So I only want to target this play at companies where there are more than 100 employees. I've added that to our ICP specifically for this play. I'm only going to reach out to one contact of the company. I'm really looking for that CMO. And then here again is where you go into your job titles and use your search for job title to dictate CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, and then put that management level filter on that. Again, I've got a specific sales flow with specific messaging for this play built out. I just go in and I find that and I select it, and then I can go ahead and assign what user I want this play to come from. And then I turn it on. And then that play's running in the background all the time. All right, to the next one.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Great. So hopefully everybody's kind of getting the gist of how this works, right? And the things that you need to be thinking about or defining or understanding in terms of your go-to-market strategy before you even put these plays into action. So one of those, I think, where that's really, really important is this tech install targeting play. It can be super powerful, and this can be a play that you can be running like at a really wide scale, but you need to do some thinking around like what tech matters to you and your business. Because ultimately what this play is going to do is it's going to identify signals for when specific tech is added at a company within your ICP. So think about what tech you integrate with, or what tech might be something that you're sort of complementary to, or you work well with. Maybe some of your partner tech, people that you work alongside. All of that are great technologies to have listed, and then you understand, how you would message to companies that are using those other technologies. So I'm going to go ahead again. I'm going to hit try it. I have this built out for us, our tech install targeting play, and specifically, I have this play built out for a scenario where we are trying to see if other companies within our ICP are using Marketo or using HubSpot Marketing Hub or Eloqua. Normally we find, right, those are some of the marketing automation platforms that we integrate with. And so we find that those companies want to work with ZoomInfo so that they can integrate their tech stack together. And so again, I have these built out. You can search through the technographics here and dictate those, right? They come up as a big long list. You can put those in there to update that trigger. And then under your actions, again, you have all your filtering. I'm targeting, buyer personas that are VPs or directors of demand gen. And you can see I've included up to 10 people at that company to discover. This message is a little bit more, it's more of an overview, it's less targeted, and it's allowing us to sort of talk broadly about the value of ZoomInfo working alongside Marketo or HubSpot. So I'm pulling quite a few more people in there. Again, can add to a sales flow. We've got our tech install targeting sales flow that I've built out. Turn this workflow on, you're ready to go. Hope everybody is enjoying kind of seeing how this comes to life. I feel like sometimes, or the number one question that I get when I talk to customers is, I have all the data, right? I have all these things at my fingertips and I know kind of what I want to do, but I'm not sure how to sort of piece everything together. And really that's what this play site to the workflows workflow is supposed to do. It's supposed to connect all of those dots and make it super easy for you to do this day in and day out. This is the last one I'm going to go through, and then I'll pass it back off to Ben and Becca, and we can go through and finish out our session today. But this last play is about using financial news signals. So if we're seeing M&A in the market or financing, and using that signal as an opportunity to run a play and reach out to companies in your ICP. Out of the box, this workflow looks like this. The trigger allows us to, again, use scoops, but this time we're using financial scoops. And here I actually have our buyer persona laid out as CFOs, CEOs, owners, founders, and I'm just adding, job titles in here for us to dictate our targeting. And as you go into engage, again, I've got our financial news signal sales flow built out. I've got this assigned to a user, and it's truly as easy as setting all of these criteria and turning the workflow on. All right. I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Millie. And I think one thing that Millie touched on, but is so important to think about, is that your best reps are already doing a lot of this, right? If you sit your best rep down and ask them, what do they do in the morning to go and find their next deal? They have 5, 10, 20, 30 ideas of exactly the workflow that they would go to find the data, to reach out to them, what they would say, all of those things. So a lot of this is just taking that and packaging it up and making it available to the entire team. So again, none of the things that Millie showed today are, brand new concepts or brand new plays that companies haven't thought of before. It's just about making it way easier to take it off the shelf and to make it consistent and repeatable for the team. So Millie, thanks so much for going through all those. And thank you for all the hard work you do standing up those plus 75 other plays for us every day at ZoomInfo. Becca, maybe you can walk us through our last go-to-market, our last poll question before we wrap up.
For sure, yeah. Thanks again, Millie and Ben. Great point, both of you. I think the plays really help just with overall sales productivity, especially in today's time. So really love that the plays kind of help with that. But we're curious, audience who's still with us, how many go-to-market plays do you plan to run this quarter, or have you been running this quarter? So go ahead and feel free to answer this poll here. Ben, Millie, I'm just curious, how many do you think ZoomInfo is currently running?
I mean, we don't give a public number because we're always experimenting with new plays and trying new things. What I'll say is that we have tried over 150 different plays over the last year, and we industrialize close to 100 that are running at any given time. But in some ways, it's like asking how long is a piece of string, because Millie, during the time we've been giving this webinar, I'm sure our CEOs reached out with 2 or 3 more ideas. So, it's always changing. I would say, to sort of answer that for the market, in my estimation, there are sort of about 30 to 50 that every company should be running no matter what, that are just sort of core blocking and tackling things that every company should be doing. But we've seen companies, really sophisticated companies, that run 200-300 versions of these plays. But I'm excited to see what the audience is doing as well.
All right. Yeah, let's check it out.
Okay. I'm going to answer. Oh, sorry. Yep. There you go. Yep. Interesting. Millie, this is, just about what you would expect. Again, I want to talk to the people who are running 10 plus. I wonder if it's the same company who's also, automating a lot of their plays. But, this is what we talked about at the beginning, is that a lot of companies sort of reach a local maximum of all right, we've put in a lot of effort around standing up things around intent, things around inbound, things around site visits, and just keeping that running and making sure that you're tuning the play is a full-time job for sometimes 5 or 10 people. So getting beyond that can be really hard. But Millie, what's your read on this and how these numbers break out?
Yeah, I think that's about right. This is sort of exactly the distribution I would have guessed.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I think if there's nothing else, that comes out of this for the folks who have joined, hopefully we're helping inspire just a lot of new ideas, right? Like that play site has many, many dozens of ideas that go well beyond the 10. The reason that we focus on these 5 today is we really think these are 5 that every company should be running. So I'd say if you're sort of in this first camp, start by tuning in, really making sure that, the core plays are running well, but just a culture of experimentation and being able to take what the best rep is doing and try to make it available for the team is going to help you move up the ladder and run more of these plays. So, Millie, I want, if you could talk through, what people can do to learn more about plays and to find more content on this. And then we do have one little Easter egg that you're going to show of a really easy way to get started if you have access to workflows.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in terms of what's next, it's absolutely just going ahead and exploring the play site. Read through, all of the plays that are there. Use that favorites tab to find the ones that you really like or you're excited about potentially digging into to explore and build out. Ben has this really, really great talk that sort of goes one level deeper. So if you're maybe on a little bit more advanced side of where your go-to-market strategy and playbook strategy is, watch Ben's HubSpot talk. I think it shows how to take maybe your data foundation build out that one step further and really shows what that can unlock and what that can mean for driving your go-to-market playbook strategy. And then the last thing that I would offer here is there's a really great post by Henry that's really about go-to-market for all and how plays should be and can be accessible no matter where you are in your go-to-market maturity. It just depends on sort of how you're running those, what channels you're using, and kind of the level of complexity each of those has. And there's stepping stones. You start, at level 1, and you can always get to level 5. It's just understanding where you are, orienting to that, and then figuring out internally what you need to do and build out to get to that next level.
Yep. Very well said. And we apologize. I should have thought of this, Becca. I had a GIF, the really cool GIF on the left side showing the navigating the play site. And of course, when we upload it to the webinar, it doesn't work. So I should have thought of that. But trust us, there's an amazing GIF in this slide. So the one thing that we want to leave you with, Millie's going to share screens one more time. We're talking about this for the first time publicly today. We've launched a new functionality, which we're calling workflows.new, which means that if you have access to workflows today and you're licensed appropriately from ZoomInfo, you can go into your browser anytime. And Millie, feel free to take the screen share and just show us this as I'm going through it. But you can go into your browser anytime and just type out workflows.new, which she's typing out now. And if you press enter, it will redirect you into the experience to create a new workflow. And so, hopefully a lot of you have seen this. If you do the same thing for Google Docs or Google Slides or Google Sheets, right? They have like doc.new, sheet.new, slide.new. It is the fastest way to go from I have an idea to standing up a play, that you can just use this shortcut to jump directly into the product and start to set up your workflow. So for those of you who are lucky enough to already have workflows in your ZoomInfo instance, go ahead and get started and try that today. That is live. So with that, we should, leave here a couple minutes for QA. Millie, I'll start by answering one that I saw come through in the chat. And then if there are others, please, feel free to put them in. We have one person correcting my pronunciation of GIF. I respect that. It is a long battle topic of whether it's GIF or GIF. So thank you for your punch up there. A couple of the questions around licensing. So not every instance of ZoomInfo has access to workflows. If you want to get a demo or to unlock access to workflows, come talk to us. We can have someone from our account management team jump on and talk through upgrading your license scenario. So not everybody has workflows today. It's available in our higher end packages. And then we've had a couple of questions around OpenAI and GPT. We did an announcement last week talking about our future with generative AI and what we're going to be doing with GPT. So we'll let the announcement stand on its own. But what's integrated into the play site today is using this technology to take the scenario, to take a specific person, a specific persona, a specific company, and help to generate the content based on that specific play and the data inputs, to give you an example of how this might work. So if you have access to OpenAI's API, you could potentially wire in a scenario like that today and say, hey, here are the data points that I have on this particular company or person, generate me an email based on that on your end. So much more to come, nothing else to announce today. But we're really excited about, and like many people have been really captured by what's possible with generative AI. So a lot more to come on that front. Is there one last question? Yeah, Millie, do you want to take a crack at this question number 7 around sort of daisy chaining together multiple plays? I think it's a very interesting one.
Yeah. So the question is, around can these automated plays be sort of run play 1, and then based on the outcomes of play 1, can you run play 2? That is possible. It's not possible in the sort of workflows view that we saw today, but it is very possible to work internally within your own operations to set up some core functionality that can enable that, and then you can use the workflows tool to sort of string that together. So it takes a little bit more sort of internal setup and functionality build out, but there are ways to do that, and there's definitely ZoomInfo, playbook strategists like myself who can help support and drive that conversation and give insights on how to do that effectively.
And the only thing I'll add to that is, what Millie's talking about there goes back to that underlying data infrastructure and getting a lot of the foundation right. Like, you still have to have things like exclusions of who do we not want to email, right? Prioritization of like which plays do we want to run ahead of other plays. So in many ways, what we want companies to think about is setting up an expansive, wide-ranging playbook, but then having the fallbacks and the rules built in to ensure, people aren't being over-messaged, et cetera. So like many technologies, it can be very powerful, but if it's not sort of like thoughtfully deployed, it is possible you will, possibly over-message or, bother users. And we really encourage thoughtful sort of policies and constraints around that. So with that, Becca, thank you so much for helping us put this together. Thank you to the audience for joining. I hope you learned a lot about our view on go-to-market plays and workflows. And we're so excited to see what you and the rest of the community will continue to ship to push this industry forward.
Yeah, Ben, Millie, thanks so much. Again, reminder to our audience that we will send out the recording. So if you missed anything, want to revisit or share it out, please do. We encourage you to share that out with your teams. And the survey will pop up at the conclusion of the broadcast today. So we really look forward to your feedback, and definitely suggest some additional plays that we can kind of add to our ZoomInfo Plays website. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.